How's it going, Midnight Strikers? I am back with another review, and today we are going to be talking about not one, but two Queensryche albums. That's right, to commemorate the release of their newest album, Condition Human, which dropped and hit the shelves 5 days ago. I'm going to be covering that as well as their self-titled release from 2013, the first ever album with Todd La Torre, and I'm going to be covering both Todd La Torre albums right here for you guys. So, I figured I would reviewed FU, Frequency Unknown, by Jeff Tate's version of Queensryche, which lasted in 2013 until early 2014, before the rights to the Queensryche name were given to Michael Wilton and Todd La Torre and the rest of the crew. So, he wanted to get one album out there in the Queensryche name that was absolutely terrible, and he succeeded in that. So, I reviewed that, absolutely hated the crap out of it. I would never even download it. It's not even worth downloading it, but if you wanted to download it just to find out what it sounded like, I would actually encourage it, because you do not want to support that kind of fuckery, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. This, on the other hand, is a solid, honest release. I've got to say, I don't have very many qualms about this album. It's got a cool little sleeve here. See? For some reason, when I scanned the cover for when I ripped the CD in order to put it on my Windows Media Player, it was green for some reason, but whatever. With this album, the first album with Todd La Torre at the helm, it brings a lot of unique elements to the band. They have a lot more of a manufactured sound a little bit, which you could take with a grain of salt in this album. The production sound does sound a bit off. It sounds a little bit airy and staticky and a little bit like it's recorded in a tin room, I suppose, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm sorry, but this album also sees La Torre using a lot of different and unique vocal effects that Jeff Tate never used on prior releases, and it brings a little bit of fresh air into an otherwise stale formula that Queensryche was using whenever Jeff Tate was fronting the band. Now, there is a huge breath of fresh air that was blown. I mean, I'm sorry, a frickin' gust of wind, of fresh wind, blown into this band whenever this album here was released. And you can even tell it's the first album with the Queensryche self-titled name since their debut EP. So you gotta know, you're knowing it's gonna be good just by looking at the name and listening to the first few songs on here. Where Dreams Go to Die is one of my favorites. Spore is another one. In This Light is probably either my absolute favorite song or second only next to Fallout. Every song on here has a purpose. Every song on this album flows into one another, as well as the interesting and unique intro that is X2, that features a little bit of a just really ambient sound. That's all it really is. It doesn't have any guitars in it. It has some drumming, but it's just basically ambient sound, which sets up for the rest of the album, which makes it really unique, really awesome to listen to. And this is probably my favorite of the two La Torre albums, I gotta say. I like the production better on Condition Human, but as far as actual musicianship goes, I think this is just a more solid product overall, I suppose. I don't know if they were rushed with Condition Human or what the deal was, but I will get to that in my next part of this review. First of all, though, I do want to mention that this versus Frequency Unknown, however, yeah, this comes out on top. So, overall, I'm going to give this one a 9, probably 9.5 out of 10. I really like it. It was one of my favorite albums of 2013. 2013 was a great year for metal, and progressive metal, with Queensryche, of course. But, you know what? Awesome album. Check it out. First with Todd La Torre at the helm, and then we move on to Condition Human 2 years later. So what's changed? What's different? What have they done to put themselves on the map and breathe even more fresh air into an already fresh product, an already fresh entity that is the band Queensryche? Well, I will tell you, pretty much everything except for the musicianship has been improved on Condition Human. A lot of the songs are stellar. This album has a lot of absolutely stellar songs. They actually throw in a lot more ballads and slower songs in this album, but it seems like they're sandwiched in between the bread of the faster, more upbeat songs. And this album seems like they slowed it down a little bit too much for my taste anyways. This album right here was very energetic. It was very upbeat. It had a lot of vocal effects thrown in there, and it had a lot of crazy things going on that just seemed to harken back to the days of, say, Empire or even Queensryche, the EP, with how crazy and invigorating it was. It was just a really awesome time listening to it. This, however, I kind of got the feeling that they were playing it a little safe with the slower songs, the really, really amped up and beefed up production, which, again, the production admittedly is better on this album, but I feel like they were playing it safe, especially in the middle. So I feel like the bread of the sandwich was better than the actual filling, which, in my opinion, it really should be the other way around. I mean, this album actually is a sandwich. That's basically what it comes down to. And, you know, metaphorically speaking, of course, the faster songs and the heavier songs are on the outside, slower songs in the middle. And really that kind of puts it off balance a little bit. Really that's my only complaint about the album, is it has way too many slow songs, too many ballads, and the outsides of the album, the beginning and end, are the best parts. So if they cut out the middleman, literally, and add in a few more songs and kind of beef up the production value on the musicianship as well as the song structures, I think you'd have a winning formula here. Really, that's my only complaint. My favorite song on Condition Human is probably either Guardians, Arrow of Time, or All There Was. Condition Human, the actual title track here, does actually deserve some recognition, and I see a lot of things harkening back to the days of Operation Mindcrime, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, things like The Aftermath, Bulletproof, Hourglass, especially Hourglass. Hourglass is a pretty good middle song. Harken back to songs like The Mission and Speak, and just songs like that. It sounds very similar. It sounds kind of like Deja Vu a little bit, especially in some of the slower songs, with some of the slower songs compared and contrasted with the songs on Operation Mindcrime. So I get a lot of that Mindcrime vibe, just not done as well, because Mindcrime did have a lot of slower songs, and it wasn't very balanced musicianship-wise, but it was a concept album. It was meant to tell a story. This, on the other hand, is a collection of songs on an album that are supposed to go hand-in-hand cohesively. It doesn't really do that as much for me, at least. So Condition Human, the title track, like I said, deserves a lot of praise, deserves some mention. It's a very atmospheric track. It's very slow and very just really sets the mood, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. And it's a really good closer. Probably one of my favorite tracks on the album, simply just because it was very, very well crafted, and everything just seems to kind of go hand in hand together. You don't got that tin-like production on this album like you did with Queensryche here, but like I said, it's a really good effort. Just really not as solid as Queensryche, in my opinion. So with that, I'm going to give this album an 8.5 out of 10. I do like it. It is a good album, Queensryche, as well as Condition Human. Condition Human is probably my the lesser of the two, in my opinion, but you know what? It is what it is. Both albums are good. I highly recommend that you give it a chance before you judge it, though. And that's pretty much all I have to say. 9 out of 10 for Queensryche, or 9.5, excuse me. 9.5 out of 10 for Queensryche, the self-titled, and 8.5 out of 10 for Condition Human. So, that's my review. This is Midnight Strike 3625. I hope you enjoyed watching. Keep calm and rock on.